Welcome back YouTube, hope we're all doing well. So in today's video we're going to be talking about the lifelong debate and something that I really struggled with when I first started the gym and kind of working towards my physique development, and it is whether you should bulk or cut. And I think if you are just starting out, or even if you're quite an experienced lifter or gym goer so to speak, it's always confusing often to decide whether you should bulk or cut. I think sometimes when you're in the middle it's hard to kind of determine which way you should go. So in this video and in this PowerPoint, I'm going to explain exactly what you should do at your current start position now. So, should you bulk or should you cut? Enjoy the video. So this guide or this PowerPoint and this video is perfect for guys who are, starting off with the gym. And typically, around about the ages of 20 to 40. So, either if you're looking to build muscle or looking to lose body fat, or just overall looking to develop your physique, whether that be towards building more muscle, adding more size, or getting leaner and stripping body fat. So within this kind of video, we're going to talk through should you bulk or should you cut, how to decide, and obviously what's the best kind of strategy for you. Firstly, I think it's very important to understand what both things are. I know it's very obvious in a way, bulk, you just add weight. Cut, you lose weight. Well, sometimes it's a little bit more complex than that. So obviously building, I don't really like the word bulking because it seems a bit harsh, and I think sometimes people take it in the wrong way, like I've done myself before, which we'll get onto in a second. But bulking or building is effectively eating in a small surplus of calories, and you don't even have to be in a surplus. Sometimes you can actually be at maintenance or even in a deficit, albeit a lot harder, but it is to be continually looking to add tissue to your frame, okay? And it's obviously a big focus on training performance as well. I think a lot of people, including myself in the past, think that they can just eat what they want and train relatively as normal. Whereas ideally you want to be eating good whole foods in a steady surplus and only increasing foods when you need to. And some kind of signs that we'll look for when to push foods is actually when training performance might drop off. So don't just push foods and chase scale weight like I've done in the past. So obviously, like I say, the training focus is going to be the main emphasis and just making sure you are getting stronger within the gym, obviously with good form still, but standardizing that form across the board as well. Don't get kind of carried away because you've got extra weight behind you that you feel like you can just jump up by 10 kilograms on a dumbbell press or something like that, which I've done myself before. And this is why I'm making this video, because I've made these mistakes and I want to try and put this video forward so you don't make the same mistakes as me. And you can get yourself a lot further ahead if you are new to the gym or just kind of unsure of where to go with your kind of fitness journey. Who should bulk? When should you decide whether you should be building or not? So I'd always suggest that if you are on the leaner side or quite a skinny guy like I used to be, definitely spend as much time within a surplus and a building phase as possible. I think my mistake that I made when I was younger is I was always chasing abs. And what that didn't allow me to do was actually be in a position where I could build a substantial amount of muscle. So I would maybe do a bulk for 2 months. I remember putting Instagrams on post-Christmas, like time to bulk, time to cut, and it would be like every 2 or 3 months. And if you're kind of jumping in and out of each phase, you're not giving your body time or yourself chance to actually either lose body fat effectively or build muscle, more importantly, especially if you are younger or just starting out at the gym and you are on the leaner side of things like I always used to be. I think another time that you should bulk if you are underweight and you feel like you need more tissue. Okay, so again, they're both pretty similar if you want to add size, if you want to add tissue, but like I say, if you are a skinnier guy like I used to be when I was younger, as you can see here, it is very easy to just spin your plates and just kind of jump out of phase to one to another, and it just wastes a lot of time. And I think if I could go back and tell myself now, when I was younger, mate, just stay in a building phase for as long as you can. I could be much further ahead at the age of 27 than I am now if I was to spend a little bit more time when I was younger, in my early 20s as well, even in a surplus. There's no rush to get lean. You want to focus on building that muscle tissue because it is the longer process. Building muscle, sucks. It takes time, and it's very demotivating sometimes because you're not going to see huge changes, unlike a dieting phase where you might see abs within a few weeks, or at least visible abs within a few weeks. A question that's always asked, can I eat anything and everything? Okay, so there's obviously a huge difference between dirty bulking and lean bulking, and I made the mistake a few years ago of starting with the best intentions of doing like a lean bulk and just doing things in a very slow and gradual manner. But this These videos and pictures here are a prime example of why you shouldn't kind of I wasn't dirty bulking actually, really. It was more a case of I was trying to hit a certain scale weight, being 200 pounds. And for my kind of size and height, 200 pounds was always going to make me look fat. And this is why you should never kind of chase scale weight or chase, a certain amount of, just because you're gaining 2-3 pounds a week does not mean that's muscle. It is 99% going to be body fat or just extra water weight. And this is why it gets a little bit complicated, because if you just gain, I think people have the misconception that if I'm gaining weight, therefore I'm building muscle. Whereas, you're not. It's straight and simple as you're not, okay? You're just putting on fat and you're putting on a lot of additional water weight that you don't need to be carrying. So please don't do the thing that I did a few years ago and chase scale weight. You don't even need to gain that much weight. In my last building phase this year, before this prep, I've only gained 10 pounds, and that was over a 20-week period, which is around about a pound per week. 0.5 pound per week even, and that is the perfect kind of spot that you want to be aiming for. 0.5 pounds increase per week, no more than 2 pounds per month. And this was a huge mistake that I used to make. I thought if I were to gain 2 pounds a week or 3 pounds a week, then that would be me building more tissue, whereas it's just simply not true. So never chase scale weight and never dirty bulk. Of course, within the building phase, you have a bit more flexibility with foods because you've got more calories to spare. But if you're smashing pizzas and takeaways every day, or 3 or 4 times a week, you are just going to gain a lot of unwanted body fat. So focus on, a steady, gradual, lean bulk. I hate that kind of term, lean bulk. I just want to build lean muscle. Like what I'm kind of trying to say is you just want to have a steady approach with it. Okay, don't kind of push scale weight or push foods for the sake of it. You want to do it in a very gradual, steady manner. Protein intake and obviously strength training are going to be the key fundamentals of this. So make sure you're adjusting your proteins and macros accordingly, and also just make sure that you're training hard, logging your weights, but not jumping the gun. I think I was trying to push, dumbbells that were just way too heavy for me, but because I had that extra weight behind me, it gave me that confidence and I could move them. It just didn't necessarily mean that I was getting a good connection with them, okay? There's a very big difference between actually stimulating a muscle and just moving a weight from A to B. So, onto the cutting side of things. What is cutting? Again, it's very straightforward, I guess, in a way, but some people might underestimate it. It's just, again, and the key word being slow. Eating in a slow calorie deficit to lose fat while maintaining muscle. And I think a mistake that I've made when I was younger is just trying to lose as much weight as possible. And you'll see people putting on their kind of Instagram stories and sharing their kind of client results that, John from Manchester has lost 20 pounds in 4 weeks, which again, a lot of that will be water weight if they've just started, but you also need to be mindful that if you have been in a building phase or if you have got a good amount of muscle prior to doing a cut, the last thing that you want is to actually waste that muscle, because your body will naturally start to favour fat stores, of course, which is good when you're dieting, but it will also try and take away from its muscle stores as well to use it as an energy source. So just be very mindful that, yes, we're trying to, lose weight, in essence, but we're not trying to just solely focus on losing weight. We're looking to change your physique, and by doing that, you need to make sure that you're retaining the muscle that you've actually built. And if you do it too quickly and you're looking to kind of lose 3, 4, 5 pounds a week, you're going to lose a lot of muscle at the same time. And then when you get to the back end of the diet, you're just going to look skinny and gaunt. And this is what I always used to do. Even on my very first photo shoot, I went maybe a bit too aggressive, and I look back at the picture and I thought, yeah, I'm shredded. But if I hit a double bicep, I just look skinny, and skinny collarbones, skinny shoulders. So don't kind of rush a dieting phase. A much better approach is doing it in a slow manner. Look to kind of lose 1% of your scale weight per week, ideally. If you want to speed things up and you are on a bit of a time frame, by all means, 2 pounds per week is a pretty good average for most people. But don't be in a rush to diet. I think a lot of people want to try and rush their diets, but when they do this, they don't end up with the physique that they want because they've lost a lot of muscle at the same time. So obviously higher protein intake, weight training and cardio are all tools that we will implement when dieting. So obviously protein intake to retain the muscle that you've got, of course, and potentially even build new muscle if you're training hard enough. Resistance training, making sure your training stays the same, nothing changes within the gym. I think a mistake I used to make myself is, again, these are all mistakes that I'm kind of hopefully passing on to you so you don't make them yourself, is that when I was dieting, I thought it would be a case of lower weight, higher reps to kind of shred and cut the muscle. No. Silly young me. Your training within a building phase and your training within a dieting phase should stay exactly the same, okay? Maintain the strength in the gym, maintain the reps in the gym, and you'll maintain the muscle that you've got on your frame. Okay, if you start kind of chopping and changing your plan just because you're dieting, you're just going to lose all the muscle that you've built, or not keep much of it anyway, at least. So just make sure from a training standpoint, you match the reps or even progress. Like in this dieting phase that I'm in now, I'm 10 weeks deep and I'm still progressing within the gym. Yes, scale weight's down, but don't use that as like a mental blocker that you can't get stronger. Okay, it's very important that you maintain that strength in the gym, because that's what's going to keep the muscle to make you look, still full and muscular at the end of the dieting phase with lower body fat percentage, not skinny and gaunt like I've done in the past. Who should cut? Okay, so I think if you're kind of having a position where you're, should I cut, should I bulk? If you're, typically a higher body fat percentage and you can't, a good kind of gauge that I would use, if you can't see visible abs or even like the outline of abs, you should probably cut. Okay, if you can see the visible abs and you want to add a bit more size to your frame, then definitely a building phase is the best approach. But if you can't see your abs, if you can't see much detail, it probably is a cut that you'll need to do. Okay, and if you want to look more kind of defined, chiseled, lean, then a cut will be for you. But obviously, again, you need to be mindful. And I think some people, when they're in the middle, just assess, am I carrying more fat than I would want? Or am I lean enough to start a building phase? So you always want to start a building phase in the leanest position possible, because it means that your sensitivity in regards to like insulin is going to be a lot more, sensitive being the key word. So obviously when you utilize carbs, your pancreas releases insulin, and with that being a leaner position, from a body composition standpoint, it means that when you eat carbs, they're going to get utilized a lot more effectively. So if you have a lower sensitivity with insulin, it means the food that you're putting in is more than likely just going to be stored as body fat. So if you start a build in a leaner position, it means that nutrition partition is going to be a lot more effective. So you're actually going to get a lot more from it, and then foods that you're ingesting daily will actually be utilized effectively, as opposed to just kind of being wasted as byproduct. So take away from the cut, avoid extreme deficits, unless I don't know what kind of circumstances you would need to do an extreme diet. I think if you need to do an extreme diet or an extreme deficit, you've left it too late, and you need to just plan better. It's as simple as that. You can't just do, right, I need to lose 20 pounds in a month. Like, no. Like, yes, maybe try and lose a little bit, but 20 pounds is just extreme, and you're just going to kill yourself in the process of doing it. So don't do that. And obviously, like I say, the main focus on a dieting phase is to maintain the strength and still, apply progressive overload within the gym to retain and preserve the muscle that you've got. So here's a good little flow chart that I've made for you. So have a little look over this, pause the screen now, and if you have any questions on it, let me know. And obviously, if you're not sure what you need to do, obviously you can get in contact with me, or leave a comment below and I'll happily give you a message and have a look at your pictures, your current progress photos, and see what would be the best kind of plan for you to take. So common mistakes and how to avoid them, to kind of wrap this up, is obviously dirty bulking, like I've mentioned. Do not end up looking like this guy, because firstly, I felt shit. I was unhappy with how I looked, therefore my confidence was low. My stomach was just always bloated. I couldn't digest foods properly. My training was pretty subpar. I thought I was strong, but I didn't actually have any new muscle when I dieted back down. I think this is a big thing as well, is if you do a huge bulk, when I pushed up to 200 pounds, when I dieted back down, I hadn't really gained that much muscle. So it's just proof that you don't need to just push scale weight to, tick a box and say that you've hit a certain amount of weight, because it doesn't mean you've built more muscle. If anything, it also just means you've got a lot more work to do when you diet. So when I started my diet 2 years ago, after this kind of dirty bulk, I was doing like 4 lots of cardio from week 1 and like 12,000 steps from week 1. And that is just a lot to be doing within the first week, especially when you're that heavy. Like, I felt like I was going to die when I was doing my cardio. Whereas this time, because I've started in a leaner position for the dieting phase, I've allowed myself to not make hardly any changes. I'm 10 weeks in now, I'm only doing 2 cardio sessions a week and 10,000 steps a day, and foods are relatively high still. And this is the beauty of a longer prep and not starting a diet in too high of a body fat percentage position, because you haven't got as much work to do. And that's the best thing in any kind of scenario. You don't want much work to do. You don't want it to feel like a diet. So avoid dirty bulking. Don't end up like me 2 years ago. Excessive cutting in the same light. You don't want to do an extreme diet where you're, from the first week on 1,200 calories and you're doing 5 cardio sessions a week and 15,000 steps a day, because you're just going to, first of all, hate the process. You're going to be miserable, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be low on energy, and also you're going to lose a lot of muscle within the process as well. So I'd always, whether it be a building phase or a cutting phase, give yourself a longer time period. You know, obviously good diets can be done within 12 to 20 weeks, of course, but it depends what the start position is. And this is the key takeaway from this video. It always depends what your start position is, not what someone else is. So just kind of assess, ask for help, ask me where you're currently at, and I can point you in the right direction of what you need to do. And the last one is just focus on gradual, sustainable kind of cutting or bulking methods. Don't see this as like, and I think my biggest mistake when I was younger is, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this now, you just want instant gratification. You want to be cut now, you want to be strong now, you want to be big now. Like, unfortunately, guys, as I'm sure you know, in 2025, good physiques and well-developed physiques, and the physique that you probably want, does take a bit of time. And I think this is the beauty of physique development and bodybuilding. Like, you can't buy it, you can't get it within a week. You have to earn it. And everyone that's in shape has my utmost respect, because I know firsthand how much has to go into it. And I think, you know, you can get a nice balance as well in regards to, you can, as long as you're consistent, you know, maybe 90% of the week or 80% of the week, maybe 90, and you know, you have maybe a little bit of downtime on the weekend, but you're doing that every single week, you're still going to make a lot of progress. So that is my biggest takeaway or giveaway for you in this video, is just give yourself enough time for these things. Bulking and cutting, neither of them can be rushed, okay? It's the same with anything in life. You rush it, you're going to get a shit result. If you rush building a house, it's going to be a shit house. It's going to fall down. You rush building a physique, it's going to be shit. Okay, so take your time, ask for advice, ask for help. And if you are, you know, younger, in your 20s, which I was at some point, even if you're in your 30s and you feel like you want to get going, as always, my DMs, my comment section below, or my DMs on Instagram is probably the best place to find me, are always open, even if it's just for advice. Okay, so don't make mistakes that I've made over the years. Hopefully learn from this and take it with you. And yeah, I think if you want any help or guidance at all, of course, give me a message. And if you are new to the channel and you like this style of video, please, I'll say it again, hit subscribe, give me a comment, and also comment below whether you're bulking or cutting currently, because it'll be interesting to see this time of the year what kind of people are doing. So have a fantastic rest of your week, guys. Catch you in the next video.